It's so funny. I was doing a session a few weeks ago on executive presence, and it was for an organization, a group of senior leaders in there, and there was a photographer in there, and she was taking a bunch of pictures, and she has done a lot of photography inside this client organization. It's a big organization. And during the break, we started talking, and she said, what's always fascinating to me is that the most senior leaders, the people who are most successful, always get up early and exercise. They even the ones that are, up in age, they're either running or swimming.
And they're also the ones that take vacations.
Yeah, but there's just a big thing about that. There's a famous Harvard Business Review article, and the title of it is "Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time."
Yes.
This is the Brandon Smith Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and the entire purpose of this show is one singular thing, and that is to help you live a life that's much more free from dysfunction. So, Kasey.
Hi, Brandon.
Isaac's already laughing. I'm really excited about our topic today because it's a topic that I've still not mastered yet. Time management. Figuring out time. How we use it better. You're going to have to solve all this for me today.
Okay. Well, the irony is not lost on me that we're having this conversation today, the longest day of the year.
My 12-year-old told me that.
Well,
he's like, Dad,
everything
did you know?
need to know.
So for those of you listening to this and watching this, this was pre-recorded, okay, as you all know. Okay, today's the day you're listening. Surprise! The day you're listening to this is actually not the longest day of the year, but the day we're recording this, it is.
The summer solstice.
Summer solstice.
It's so disappointing.
Say that 3 times fast.
From here on out for the rest of the year, the days just get shorter. But we're going to look at it on the bright side. It's Friday. It's the longest day of the year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. But there is something that also can get a little bit disconcerting when you feel like you need to be going to bed and it's still sunny outside. You're like,
I still go to bed.
Do you still go to bed?
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask about that with time management. Okay, so we're going to talk about time management.
Yes.
Now, you have had to master time because of all the things going on in your life.
Yes.
So for your official title is your wealth management advisor at Northwestern Mutual.
Yeah, that's correct.
Quite a fantastic one, I might say.
Thank you.
And so that keeps you very busy. You've got client demands and all the other stuff that is involved in that. But you've also got a lot of other things going on in life too. So managing time is like a big deal.
It is.
Yes.
Yep.
So before we jump into our topic of time management, introduce yourself to our audience and have them learn a little bit more about kind of what you do today and then how you got here. And then we're going to talk about this kind of rowdy thing that we need to wrestle to the ground.
Okay.
Called time.
We're going to master it.
We're going to 24 minutes.
Oh gosh, no pressure. So I've been doing what I do. I've been in wealth management with Northwestern Mutual for the last 16 years. I'm kind of one of those anomalies where I go somewhere and I stay there. So I've always worked there professionally since I graduated from college. I have degrees in marketing and finance. I have my MBA and lots of other letters after my name that are way more valuable actually than the MBA was. But and I have a 7-year-old son and I love fitness. And that's really all there is to know about me. I'm pretty boring other than that. But yeah, with all of the demands and running a small business and being a mom.
And the fitness thing isn't just a side. I mean, it is a side thing, but you compete.
I do compete.
So that's the level of investment.
Don't try
in
this
that.
at home.
The level of time investment is
Yeah.
also important because it's not like you're like, maybe I'll work out today or I'll skip it today and tomorrow. I'll work out some other. No, you can't do that.
No, I don't want to do that. I love it.
You don't want to do that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got lots of pieces and parts.
Well, and I think everybody does. Whenever you're having a conversation with someone, they say, "Oh, I'm so busy." You're not any busier than anybody else. We're all busy. It's just a matter of priorities and importance. Love that mug, by the way. Sorry, just saw that.
It's my Dunder Mifflin coffee mug, everybody.
It's just a matter of priorities and what's important and making time for the things that are important and saying no when it doesn't fit with those priorities.
Okay. Yeah. And I'm actually getting irritated with myself because I'm tired of telling people I'm busy. I don't know a better way. I've been asking people what's a better way to say that.
say, I'll get back to you.
I'll get back to you.
But get back to them.
Yeah, but even just saying like my life's really busy, like people say, how are things? And I don't want to say, well, busy, but they are busy. They're full. It's full. My calendar's full. It's good.
It's full.
I've tried that. It's full. But it is a challenge to kind of master that. So let's start a little bit about what you've learned in your life. What are some techniques or strategies you've uncovered that have helped you manage and schedule all those important things you want to get done every day?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to run my own business, which I know not everybody is the one in charge and they have to answer to other people, and certainly have to answer to other people. But because I run my own business, I get to make the rules, I guess, so to speak, good or bad. And there are pros and cons that come with that. But also I can say, yes, I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be at work on this day, not going to be at work on this day. And I think a lot of people that work for a big company and are not the boss don't really have that flexibility. And so that's not lost on me. But for me, it's knowing my non-negotiables, what's most important, what comes first, and keeping by a calendar. And it kind of, that whole spontaneity thing kind of falls by the wayside a lot of times. But it keeps me sane and there's structure, and I know that I can get everything done that I need to get done within reason. Obviously, there's going to be things that pop up, but I also give myself some latitude in there to know that things are going to happen. And I had a mentor give me some advice once. He was in the Navy, and he said one of the lessons he learned in the Navy was, don't put off to tomorrow that which you can do today. And that just really resonated with me, because if you've ever had one of those days where just everything hit the fan and you're not able to get it done, but you think back, you're like, I had time to do this yesterday. Why didn't I just do it yesterday? I wouldn't have had to worry about it today. I think that happens a lot. And just if you've got something come across your plate and you've got the time to do it, do it. But at the same time, and you and I have talked about this, Brandon, the whole urgency versus importance, like everything's always urgent, but not everything's important, right? So if you get an email and it seems really urgent, but it's not really all that important, file it away, maybe do it later for something that's important and urgent to do right now. There's that matrix. I don't know if it was Covey or who it was, but the importance urgency matrix. You want to do everything that's important and urgent right now, and the stuff that's not so urgent, you can do later.
Yeah, but it's also learning how to say no to stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Powerful word.
How do you say no to stuff? How did you learn to do that? What are examples of stuff you might say no to?
I'll give you a good example. So I have a conference coming up. And for those of you that don't know, I have my son 50% of the time because his dad and I are no longer married. And it happens to be over the period of time that I have my son. And yes, I can make arrangements. We can change up the custody schedule. Nope. My son is most important, and I don't have to be. It's strongly encouraged that I be at this conference, but I'm not going to be there. And it saddens me to be there and not be there. I wish I could, but there's going to be lots of conferences, and I know that in a matter of time, he's going to be out the door, and I'm not even going to have the choice. So that's an example of saying no. I want to be there, but I'm going to choose to spend my time in another place.
Yeah, so figuring out, kind of looking at those life priorities and saying, okay, I've got these two competing demands. How do I make trade-offs?
Right. And you know what's remarkable to me is that, especially those of us in business that really live and die by a calendar, or people that are in sales that are really trying to get in front of that client, right? Or that prospect. If someone says they can only meet at a certain time, and you're looking at your calendar going, God, that's really not going to work for me. I had something else planned. You say no, because guess what? You're going to find another point in time that person can meet. And I'm not a physician. I'm not saving lives, but I think of myself in the sense of, if you're scheduling a doctor's appointment and that doctor's not available to see you, you meet when that doctor's available to see you. And it's the same thing. So you're going to, if something's important enough, you're going to figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
And for those people that are in kind of this prospecting world and wanting to get in front of different prospective clients, no can be a really powerful word. Yeah. I mean, think if you're a prospect and this person is calling on you to meet with you and they say, no, I'm not available to meet with you. And all of a sudden this prospect thinks, oh, wow, you're kind of a big deal. You've got, I mean, that's just kind of automatically the perception that is generated in that person's mind. And like, it's that scarcity mentality. You're kind of playing hard to get.
So I should be saying no if I want to play hard to get?
I don't
Is that
know.
what I should be
I
saying?
don't know.
I have a hard time
You're
saying
happily
no.
married, so
I know, it's true. But we're always dating in the sense that you're always like meeting people and building those business
Right.
relationships, and you're always trying to see what's going to work out and where are you going to be able to help someone and create one of those valuable relationships for you.
Yeah.
But it is hard for me because I have people ask me all the time. They'll reach out to me and they'll say, hey, I saw you at this conference and I really connected with you and would love to grab lunch with you. When would be a good time to grab lunch? And they're not looking
You're like,
necessarily to
in
hire me.
4 months.
Yeah, and they're really looking to just connect because they felt a connection, and I value that.
Sure.
But it's difficult because I don't have time in my calendar for those kinds of meetings.
Yep.
So I typically try and turn those into phone calls and
The phone is a wonderful tool. I mean, I do so many of my meetings over the phone because I don't want to be stuck in traffic driving all over town. They don't want to be stuck in traffic driving all over town. And it's really efficient. You can do back-to-back meetings by sitting on the phone.
yeah.
And if you hone your craft over the phone, you can still foster those relationships and really pour into somebody relationally and emotionally over the phone that usually, I think, historically has gotten lost. Because you need that face-to-face one-on-one. And that is ideal, the face-to-face one-on-one. But in the absence of that, the phone is a great tool. It's a great way to leverage your time.
I'm really glad to hear you say that. I have a lot of folks in the coaching world that will only do face-to-face.
Yeah.
And while I agree with everything you said, and I agree with their belief that it's super important and valuable, sometimes it just doesn't make sense, either for you or the client.
Right.
Because the client might cancel at the last minute. And if you're sitting in the lobby and they've just canceled,
Yeah. You were just out of pocket for however long it took you to get
that's
there.
a lot
Yeah.
trickier than if you're sitting in your home office or your
Right.
office
Right.
and now you've got time to check emails or
Exactly.
whatever else happens. So
Yep.
I think there's definitely some value in that.
Well, and you're being respectful of that person's time too.
Yeah.
Because as busy as everybody is, we're all the same when it comes to time. As rich as you are, as poor as you are, as high up in the organization, as low in the organization, we all have 24 hours in the day, and it's how we choose to spend it that counts.
Okay. So we're getting close to break, but not so close that I can't ask you this question.
Okay.
I would love to get a window
Into my day?
into your day, into your week.
Okay.
So, what is your typical? We could start with the Monday, but I'm even curious Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, when does the work start? When does work end? How do you kind of design
Yeah.
that your calendar? Because I think that's also something that everyone who's listening to this is trying to figure out. Like, how do I put healthy boundaries around my time?
Yeah. So I get up at 5:30 typically, and I do my first workout of the day. Yes, I said first because there's more than one. And that's typically in my house because I have a 7-year-old and I can't just say, peace out, don't do anything. Mommy will be back in an hour. So I do that in my home. And then get him ready, get myself ready. We're off to school, camp, whatever it happens to be. And I'm try to be in the office sometime between 7:30 and 8. Usually it's closer to 8 when I have my son. Work all day, see clients. Ideally, that's them coming to my office or doing it by phone. And again, that's just efficiency with my time. I can see a lot more people and get a lot more done if I don't have to spend half of the day in my car. And then from there, I get a second workout in and go pick up my son or go pick up my son
So
and do a second
about
workout.
what time do you end your working day? No, I miss-
Five-ish.
5-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want my son to be the last one picked up. So he is in aftercare. So I try to get him by 5. And if that means I've got to hop back on the computer and get some stuff done after he goes to bed, great. I try not to do that either because my energy is drained. I've been up. I've gotten 2 workouts in. I've played mom. I've run a business. Nothing productive is going to happen if I have no energy. So at that point, he's in bed at 8 and I'm not far behind, typically by 9 o'clock. I am a really, really exciting person. But sleep is really important to me too.
And today, it's going to be sunny outside when you try and go to sleep.
I know.
You seem excited about that. I didn't hear you eat. Do you eat in there? Do you eat?
Oh, yeah.
There's food involved?
There's food involved. A lot of protein.
It's a sensitive topic for Kasey at the moment, since part of her fitness routine means there's some things you can't eat at the moment that she would like to.
Yeah.
But we make these trade-offs for stuff we want.
I do.
All right, so we're going to take a break. When we come back from the break, we're going to dig into this a little bit more.
Okay.
I want to spend some more time on the calendar stuff, and I'm going to share with you some of the things I've been talking to my clients about recently.
Okay.
And see what you think about those.
I love it.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you what they are until after break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Brandon with your coaching minute for the week. So I've got a tip for you that I put on most of my clients' action plans that you may think it sounds a little crazy. So hear me out. I want you to designate one of your colleagues or coworkers, somebody maybe works in a different department that maybe a peer of yours that you don't work with every day. And I want you to intentionally plan on having lunch with one colleague or coworker a month. So all I'm asking for is one lunch a month. And you may say to yourself, Brandon, that's such a waste of time. I don't have time to have lunch with people. But what I have found for my clients that's been able to do this is they come back and they say, not only was it so valuable to learn more about them as a person, I learned really important stuff going on in their departments. And they learned important stuff going on in mine. And we were able to share information, and we both agreed it was a really good use of our time. So that's my challenge to you. Designate a day of the month that you're willing to go out to lunch with a coworker. Go find one. Go out to lunch, and I promise you, you're going to be glad you did. It's going to help you be more productive, operate more efficiently and effectively, and strengthen some of those relationships that we all need. So that is your coaching minute for the week. Until next week, I can't wait to hear how it goes. Welcome back to the Brandon Smith Show. Of course, I'm your host, Brandon Smith, and we have been talking about time. So Kasey, right before this, we were talking a little bit about kind of your week and how you kind of make that role and how you kind of think about time. And I shared with you, I was going to talk about some of the stuff that I've been talking to some of my clients about with time. And so I'll offer this to you and see what you think about this. So I've been playing with this idea of 10%, bucketing our week into 10%. So most of my clients have some level of leadership within their companies, okay? And so I say, think about your time in these 3 different 10% buckets.
Okay.
So for the ones that have direct reports, you should be spending 10% of your time every week having one-on-ones with your direct reports.
Not each direct report, just total.
Total.
Okay.
That's total bucket.
Okay.
So that means 4 hours each week.
Got it.
If you have enough direct reports to warrant that.
Okay.
If you have just one, don't spend 4 hours with her.
No.
It's like, or him.
Got it.
Like, that's too much. But it's a way to think about it because some have, 8 direct reports or 12 direct reports or a lot. And it's a way of kind of putting some bounds around it. So that's one. The second one is 10% of your time aligning with other leaders. So if you're a director level or above, you've got to do a lot of alignment inside your organization because there's politics and you need to make sure you're walking with others. So make sure you've got those on the calendar.
Okay.
And then the other one is the hardest probably. 10% of your time working on the business and not in the business. So that's like 4 hours carved each week outside of your day-to-day firefighting, seeing clients, whatever happens to be, to actually planning, strategizing, fixing a broken process, doing something that isn't firefighting or day-to-day reaction. Okay, so
thoughts?
Yeah, what do you think?
Go.
So what do you think? What do you think about that?
So I like it. I think it depends on...
There's a big button. I can see this. Keep going.
I think it depends on what you do. So if you work in a big corporation, yes, I think that completely applies. If you run a business, I think it's the 80-20 rule, where you need to spend your time where your revenue comes from, which may or may not be with your direct reports or your lost an earbud or, walking with other leaders. It may be on business development. And 20% of your time needs to be on working, in the business. I'm a big proponent, though, of working on the business. I implemented that probably a year ago, and it was really hard for me because I thought, oh goodness, I'm going to take 4 hours out of my week. And that's what it is. It's carved out on my calendar away from quote unquote revenue generating activities, seeing clients or potential clients, to really think strategically about my business. And I forget what the saying is about time and work expanding to fit the time that we allot for it. But I didn't skip a beat, and everything still fit itself in. I still saw the same amount of clients, if not more, in the, if we want to use a 40-hour work week, the 36 hours versus the 40 hours. Because, I was talking to a colleague the other day. He was thinking through, he's kind of taken a sabbatical this month on and we may have talked about it, confusing productivity and activity. We're busy, but are we really productive? And really evaluating, to your point, what it is that we're doing with that time and being intentional around, let's be productive with our time and not just busy. Because if you're one of those people that shows up at 9 o'clock and leaves at 5, you're going to figure out some way to fill that 8-hour time block versus going about it and being strategic with your time. If you're spending that 4 hours a week to think about how you're going to spend your time and where you need to spend your time and with whom, then you're going to be that much more productive, whether or not you run a business or you work for a business.
Yeah.
So I like it, but I think there's a depends there, whether you work for somebody or you run a business.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Like, if you don't have the politics or the necessity to align with other leaders, you can save some time there. If you don't have direct reports, you can save some time there. Yeah. But it sounds like everybody could be doing more of the working on rather than in.
Absolutely.
And figuring out how to do that. So for you, and when you block that time, is it all on one day, or do you kind of spread it across the week?
No, it's Wednesday mornings.
Oh, Wednesday mornings.
Wednesday
So
mornings.
that's the time you block off for that.
That's my time. And it's funny, like, I love my career. I love what I do for a living, but it also gives me something to look forward to midweek and breaks the week up, because I don't have to suit up for that, right? Like, I don't have to get dressed nice to go to a coffee shop or work from my home office to really dive into my business. I can be comfortable in sweats or workout clothes. It's like my uniform of choice, right? And it does. It breaks up the work week. And my team has adopted this too. So my team actually works from home on Wednesdays now. So it gives them energy. And I think we talk a lot about energy in the business, regardless of what you do. If your cup isn't full, you're not going to be good for anybody else. And that's why it's important for me to incorporate fitness in my world, because there's a lot of chemical science around why it's good for you. And for me, I am a better person, not just for myself, but for my son and for my clients and the people that I surround myself with, when I make sure to incorporate that in my life. Yeah. And if that means waking up at 5:30 to do it versus sleeping an extra hour, I'm actually a better person for getting that hour of activity in before my day gets started than I would be for getting that extra hours of sleep. Sorry.
I'm feeling so guilty. I'm feeling so guilty. It's so funny. I was doing a session a few weeks ago on executive presence, and it was for an organization, a group of senior leaders in there, and there was a photographer in there, and she was taking a bunch of pictures, and she has done a lot of photography inside this client organization. It's a big organization. And during the break, we start talking, and she said, what's always fascinating to me is that the most senior leaders, the people who are most successful, always get up early and exercise. They even the ones that are, up in age, they're either running or swimming.
And they're also the ones that take vacations.
Yeah, but there's just a big thing about that. There's a famous Harvard Business Review article, and the title of it is "Manage Your Energy, Not Your Time."
Yes.
And it's all about kind of what you said. So I think there is, what you're saying is so true. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling bad about myself.
Don't feel bad.
Because I need to work on that.
It's okay. There's extra hours of sunlight today. You can fit it in.
And what is not going to happen today, folks, is that I probably should do that. But, I do think there is something around managing your energy, think about your time. And then something else that came to mind while you were talking is I think we so often put everything into 1 hour blocks that don't always have to be in 1 hour blocks. No. So I have coaching calls, and sometimes, and I gauge my clients, I kind of know their style. Some of them want an hour, and I give them that because they just like to talk through issues, and that's really where they process and learn. Sure. Others, 30 minutes is good. They would rather have 30 minutes every other week been like a full hour.
Yeah.
And we go through the action plan and we kind of get everything done. And some are 45 minutes, but I know them well enough to know, don't just confuse action with productivity,
Right.
Activity with productivity.
Productivity.
And when I might not need an hour, I can get what I need to get done in 30 minutes.
Absolutely.
Why block off an hour?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. There's a lot can be accomplished in a very short amount of time, especially when you use the phone.
Yeah, I think you're right. The phone is it's a little old school, but it works great.
I mean, you can speak to, a dozen people in an hour. Truly, if you didn't have to have a lengthy conversation with somebody, that's really productive versus driving a half an hour to meet with somebody for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm a big proponent of meetings.
I'm also and given that we live in Atlanta and you can't get anywhere without it being at least 45 minutes, I'm a big proponent of really taking that face-to-face time as precious time. So if I'm going to do it, I really want to honor that because it's a big investment.
Right. And calendaring your day, if that's a word, appropriately. If I'm going to be in Midtown for an appointment, then I'm going to make sure that if I have other opportunities to see people in Midtown, then I'll book it on that day.
Yep.
Something else that I was thinking of earlier when we were talking, Brandon, is really creating the schedule, the ideal schedule that you want. Because I visit with a lot of newer advisors, as an example, that want or allow themselves to meet with clients at night or on the weekends, which is fine. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but if that's not what you want your business to look like down the road, because maybe they don't have family commitments, then I would say we teach people how to treat us and how to do business with us. And so again, people will make time for it if it's important enough to them, and they will see you during work hours if that's when you choose to meet with people. So again, you kind of have to lay the ground rules for it, because you're the one that's in charge of your schedule. We didn't touch on this, but I block things on my calendar. My workouts are on my calendar. Everything with my son is on my calendar. And everything else just kind of miraculously fits in.
Yeah. And then one more piece to this too, and not everyone has this as an option, but you have an administrative assistant that can also help you.
Yes.
Yeah.
And to that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. They know what my yeses and nos are. If somebody wants me to drive to them to meet them, they're going to check with me first before they go ahead and book it. And I'll say, yes, that's okay. No, that's not. Maybe change the date, something to that effect, because I want to make sure that we're making the best use of our time. Yeah,
that's not for everybody. I recognize some people don't have that luxury, and it really is that. But it has been a tremendous life-changing event for me to have an executive assistant that can help me with my calendar, saves me tremendous time, helps protect my time. It's been a really great thing, and there's some really great talented people that work virtually. That can do this for you.
And the other side of that too is for those people to understand, because you don't want somebody that, yes, you're leveraging somebody else to help you with your calendar, but then you look at it and go, oh my gosh, how am I going to make all of that happen? Because you've given up ownership of it.
Yeah.
So there's two sides to that.
There's definitely a learning process to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay, Kasey, so I ask all my guests this question. What is one life hack you have for us? Help us live our life more free from dysfunction.
Around time or just in general?
In general, personal, professional, anything. It can be time, it can be anything. But something that you would say, if you put in place this one thing, it's going to make your life that much healthier.
I would say make time for something that makes you feel good. For me, again, that's fitness, but make time for it, because it will make your energy that much better for yourself and for those around you.
Beautiful. Love it. So if people want to learn more about you and connect with you, where can they go?
They can call you. No.
They could call me.
They can go to my website. It's Kasey with a K, Kasey, Gartner, Gart, as in Tom, NER.com.
KaseyGartner.com.
KaseyGartner.com.
Nice and simple. And could probably even find you on LinkedIn if they wanted to look that way too.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Brandon, thank you.
I feel like I got smarter today. I feel a little guilty, like I need to exercise.
I'm going to run around the block real fast.
I might have to go do that. And thank you for listening and watching. Catch a new show each Sunday at 7:30 p.m. on iTunes, thebrandonsmithshow.com, and live on facebook.com/Brandon Smith WPT for Workplace Therapist. And if you've enjoyed today's show, and we certainly hope you have, please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. So until our next show, have a great week and an awesome life.